Hey, thanks for joining us and welcome to this month's Peer Spotlight webinar. I'm your host, Carlos Moncada, Director of Client Services at InfoReady. We have a great webinar today with members of the Tufts University Research Development Team. We're going to go through a few housekeeping items first, and then I'll introduce the panelists from Tufts and turn it over to them for knowledge share and presentation. A little bit about InfoReady. InfoReady is a platform we designed for higher ed for selection and approval processes. Most of you on the webinar here are currently using it. And so you know the lots of benefits here to streamline the collection of applications and proposals for review and decision making. And then we've got other great tools to automate notifications and collect progress reports and do all different types of reporting. So the general functionality of the platform allows for a lot of flexibility in different use cases. So on the next screen here, you can see a list of many different types of ways to use InfoReady. Not all of you are going to use all these use cases because you can see they're all over campus. And if you do have any questions about specific use cases, we'd be glad to talk to you about it and even connect you with some other administrators who might be using it for a process you're interested in. You're going to hear about some of these today, though. And so now I would like to introduce to you the webinar panelists. So on this next screen, you see great headshots from the team at Tufts University. So first, I'd like to introduce Amy Gantt. Amy is the Director of Strategic Research Development at Tufts University, working to increase research expenditures and societal impact across all disciplines. The SRD team supports research across 9 schools, focusing on grant-seeking skill building for early career investigators and team science skills for those leading large interdisciplinary projects. Her team oversees limited submissions and internal funding programs. She currently serves as NORDIP Vice President. Welcome, Amy. And then we have Mustafa Humayun, who is the Associate Director of Strategic Research Development at Tufts, where he oversees internal funding programs and supports interdisciplinary research and collaboration. His cross-sector experience in research, finance, and health outcomes informs his data-driven approach to advancing institutional priorities. Welcome, Mustafa. And last but not least, we have Adrian Wesolowski, who is a research development specialist in the Strategic Research Development Office at Tufts. She specializes in early career faculty outreach, faculty recognition, and limited submissions. Welcome, Adrian. Now, having introduced all of them, and I introduced myself at the top of the hour, but having introduced all of them, I'm going to turn it over to the 3 of them to share a little bit more about Tufts research development operations and how they're using InfoReady. So take it away.
Thank you, Carlos. I am going to get started. I am Amy Gantt. As Carlos said, I direct strategic research development in the Tufts Office of the Vice Provost for Research. And we cover the entire university. I'll talk a little bit more about our team and what we do. Within our presentation, Adrian is going to talk about how we're using it for limited submissions and how it's changed. And Mustafa will talk about the ways in which we're using it for internal funding and what some of our future plans are. So next slide. So we are a full service strategic research development office located centrally. A lot of what we do is developing competitive proposals, particularly for those who are early in their careers and for large, complex proposals. We do a lot of partnership with units across Tufts, especially over the past year or so, as we have increased our partnership with our corporate and foundation relations team at the university. We support select research-related awards and honorifics. As we've talked about, we oversee limited submissions and OVPR sponsored internal funding programs. We have workshops for early career investigators, which I'll talk about toward the end. And we provide support for OVPR initiatives around research strategy. So, next slide. So, why we adopted InfoReady? Essentially, we were spending a lot of time manually managing both internal funding and limited submissions. And this InfoReady had the potential and has shown to really reduce the administrative burden for all of the different programs that we're using it for. It's reduced our email volume, though not eliminated it entirely. We're able to request documents, recruit reviewers, follow up with reminders that are more automated, and provide official approvals for both internal funding and limited submissions. And the platform has provided us as administrators, those who are applicants and those who are reviewers, with a single user-friendly platform that has replaced the multitude of platforms we were using previously. And it allows for more automated data collection and analysis, which helps us to continue to advocate, particularly for our internal funding programs. Next slide. So I'm going to turn it over to Adrienne to talk about limited submissions.
You can move to the next slide. So I've been managing limited submissions at Tufts for almost 6 years now, and it's evolved quite a bit. And here's just a basic overview around what we had done in the past. It was very email heavy with looking at different websites, using Excel spreadsheets with very complicated conditioning and sorting. We also had various emails between Amy and I that would go on, as well as with all of our applicants. And we'd have to track everything on Excel, and it became really bothersome. So, like Amy mentioned, we had we needed InfoReady. So, next slide. So the first part that I thought was like the biggest jump for us was using Pivot. We have a subscription to Pivot through Tufts, and the push feature through Pivot was the most helpful. So I usually get the weekly emails that say what might be a best opportunity for our faculty and researchers. And then with some minor, less discussion with Amy, now that we can just use Pivot and InfoReady, we can push. So it's just this push button once we get onto the grant opportunity, and all of that filters into these pre-made or I guess it's like there's templates that InfoReady has, and all of it's auto-populated. You can go to the next slide. So I've made templates that are applicable for the federal grants, as well as the corporate and foundation grants that we often use and push through Pivot. These are highly customizable. They've been great to be able to have each applicant be able to write in what they need, what we're asking for each specific grant opportunity. And we can also hide features. So in these templates, it's been easy to be able to set up a template, and then you can add things and take things away really easily, and has really streamlined the process instead of using an email template that has to be typed in every time. And this has been really easy for us to be able to link the application, the grant, to the actual announcement once we're on InfoReady. You can keep going now. So we have a pretty limited number of competitions that go through. So we filter ours through the InfoReady, we announce them, and we usually have a two-stage process. And that means we have an LOI. The applicant has to put in some small details that's about their project, their department, their email, and a brief description. Sometimes we have a CV. So when we move to the next part of it, when we have more than one person, applying for a limited submission, we often do a competition, and being able to facilitate that through InfoReady has been really helpful. We can ask them for more information. It's all automated through an email through InfoReady. So it's just taken the legwork and the admin part of the emailing really out of the equation, which has been really helpful, and then kind of keeps all track of it instead of on Excel and room for error on my part usually. Next slide. This has also been we also communicating to the applicant. So back to the email, heavy process that we had done in the past. We have to alert the investigators if they've made their awards, or if they have need more information. And being able to do that through InfoReady, just clicking on the person's name who's applied to that, has been really helpful, instead of a separate email through a general inbox that both Amy and I might look at every third day. These all come with alerts that have been just really helpful, and having to be able to be customizable has been helpful, so that when we have to talk to other people on campus, since we're centrally located, we have to talk to various departments in pre-award, post-award, things like that, and other administrators when we're doing these applications. So it's really helpful to be able to customize those emails when we're awarding our LOIs. Next slide. So something that we haven't done quite as much yet with InfoReady, just because we have not as many competitions, but as we're learning with our seed funding programs, which Mustafa will talk about, really using the reviewing process and reviewing features of InfoReady is our next step. Hopefully next year, we're going to start doing that for these smaller kind of competitions that we've had, and be able to have our reviewers use the InfoReady site to kind of do the same reviewing, like this person should move forward, this person should not. So that's our goal with InfoReady and limited submissions for next year. I think that's it. What's the next slide? Great.
Okay, so I'll be discussing our internal funding programs. We can move to the next slide. So thank you everyone for presenting the limited submissions, and how we have been using these processes before. I would like to begin by framing how internal funding programs operate at Tufts, and why they are such an important part of the research pipeline. So at Tufts, within the Office of Vice Provost of Research, we manage a set of strategic seed funding programs that are designed to help faculty generate preliminary data, form teams, also through research interest groups that we have introduced via InfoReady, and to position themselves for competitive external funding. Two of our research grant competitions that we are going to discuss, the main ones are a Springboard Research and Scholarship Program, as well as the Muse Arts, Humanities, and Humanistic Social Sciences Program. So the Springboard Research and Scholarship Program is our larger grant through which we have offered up to a total of around $3.2 million in grants. And the Muse Arts and Humanities and Humanistic Sciences Award is this relatively new one that we introduced over the last 2 years. So at a glance, the OVPR internal awards have already funded about 125 projects. The success rates have been up almost 37%. And the two new programs that we introduced include what I mentioned, the research interest groups and the Muse Award. So our footprint has been expanding consistently over the last few years, and we are discovering new ways to use InfoReady for our seed internal funding programs and seed programs. These programs play a critical role in strengthening our research portfolio, and they help faculty accelerate their scholarly trajectories, build collaborative networks, and ultimately move forward towards larger extramural awards. So by investing internally, we have been able to intentionally build a pipeline to support promising ideas at early stages and to enable faculty to compete more successfully for federal foundation as well as industry funding. Next slide. Amy will be discussing the previous processes that we have used before InfoReady because I wasn't here back then. So over to
Yes.
you, Amy.
All right. Thank you, Mustafa. And yes, Mustafa is coming up on his 1 year anniversary at Tufts. And we are very, very grateful for his management and leadership of these programs. But before Mustafa was here, we did everything again by email and by web-based applications. So we accepted applications by email, and we had a downloadable template, although that was inconsistently used. And so then we would end up with reviewers who would complain that somebody violated the page limits or somebody didn't use the right template or a number of other things. Assigning reviewers would take up to 2 weeks because we would have to go through everybody manually using Excel and using, and essentially copying and pasting from emailed documents into the Excel file so that we could make sure we eliminated conflicts of interest and ensured that we would have the right expertise. And then reviewers submitted via RedCap to collect reviews, which again was not the best way to do that and required people to learn yet another system. All reviews were downloaded, scores were added to the Excel spreadsheet. Our previous person overseeing this process would create quite complicated formulas in Excel to collect the scores, the average scores, the standard deviation, requested budgets, all of the different information we needed to be able to make a decision. And then tracking and data collection was, again, very much a manual process, and ROI was calculated manually and with a lot of difficulty in gathering the information. And InfoReady has allowed us to automate a lot of these processes. And I will turn it back over to Mustafa to go on with the next slide.
So I would like to discuss how our InfoReady footprint has evolved over time, not just managing the internal funds, but we are also helping with intra-institutional internal funding programs. Um, um, so our footprint within the system is primarily centered on the seed programs, Springboard Research and Scholarship, and Muse, which are funded via the OVPR, the Office of Vice Provost for Research. But besides that, we have also evolved into helping other programs. Intra-institutionally, recently we supported a competition for Tufts Institute of Artificial Intelligence, as well as we have been managing Springboard Education, which is a separate grant program from the research and scholarship pipeline. And recently, we got a new request from the faculty for introducing a new program that's the Neuroengineering Pilot Grant Program, for which basically I'm finalizing the competition and the application today. The setup is being done right now as we speak. Uh, so our programs have also grown in terms of Springboard Research and Scholarship. The last cycle received 29 applications. This cycle received 56 applications. So that shows how much more difficult it would have become for us if we were doing it manually without InfoReady. So overall, that has been very helpful. Um, Over the last year, due to funding landscape shifting, we had to move from a two cycle to a once a year cycle. But we are hoping to get back to where we were before. And in terms of collecting and analyzing outcomes, this has been very helpful in follow-up reporting. As a next step, we are also hoping to collect progress reports via InfoReady, which we have been doing through other means by now. So far, we have been using Qualtrics, but now the integration of that part of the portfolio is also in process. So we hope to uh, uh, get the benefit out of that as we move forward. Um, so next slide. So in terms of how InfoReady is powering our internal seed programs, another key value of InfoReady is how it enables expansion across school and departments. Once faculty and administrators have become more familiar with the platform, it has naturally encouraged other units to adopt it, as I mentioned, and for their own internal programs. And we have been able to provide us, be that central department or role where we are able to help them implement these programs and strategies. This type of intra-institutional expansion has mattered to us because it creates consistency in the process, simplifies training and support, as well as improves visibility across units. And it also reduces duplication of effort. So we save time in that way as well. And teams do not need to reinvent forms. We can use templates. We can use the workflows that we have already developed and to review also for reviewer mechanisms each time a new internal program is launched, we do not need to create a whole new process for that. So InfoReady has provided us with a shared infrastructure that grows with our institutional needs and has supported a wide range of internal award programs. Next slide. So we have been, in terms of service delivery, we found that having three distinct tiers has been essential because different units have different levels of needs and capacities. Tier one is designed for groups that require straightforward, streamlined setup. And these are programs that benefit from a standard application form, basic routing, or a simple review process. An example would be Springboard Education, which only where we only collect the applications and the remaining processes are still managed externally by the department. Similarly, for Tufts Institution of Artificial Intelligence, we followed a similar tier. The tier two is supporting programs which need a bit more configuration. And these may include multi-stage reviews, customized score rubrics, or detailed communication workflows. So the goal here is to provide additional flexibility while keeping the administrative burden manageable. And InfoReady has helped us do these things which we were not able to provide before. And tier three is full service, which is Springboard Research and Scholarship and Muse. We manage the reviews, as Amy mentioned. We do the whole process via InfoReady in this case. So having all these tiers allows us to match support and scale and complexity of each program is considered. And finally, in terms of outcomes and adoption, I would say that um, we have observed that in terms of outcomes, the use of InfoReady has increased across the university. We found that different units require different levels of service, and that helped us configure it. As well as in terms of flexibility, it helps drive broad uptake and has resulted in improved operational efficiencies for us. So I'll hand it over back to Amy to discuss the next slides.
All right, I'm going to talk about some of the outcomes that we've seen from using InfoReady for the various things that we're doing. And I'm going to touch on, because I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning thinking about this, a couple of ideas that I have for ways that we can use it in the future. So next slide, please. So first of all, InfoReady has saved an estimated 30% of time for staff members across all of us who are working on these different projects. And that allows us to take on more strategic activities rather than focusing so much on administration. And that is tremendous. I mean, one of the things that we were able to launch after we adopted InfoReady is Adrian is having one-on-one conversations with early career faculty to discuss research strategy. And it has really helped us to reduce that administrative burden on us. Again, it's not eliminated, but it's significantly reduced it. And I was spending, particularly on limited submissions, up to a day or a day and a half of my week to be able to, or to manage and oversee the limited submissions program. And since we've adopted InfoReady, I have been able to take my weekends back to actually do the rest of my job. So InfoReady's hard deadlines mean we have fewer investigators that miss deadlines. By no means is that zero. And we often field emails from faculty requesting that we reopen something or that we give them an extension. But it has certainly helped. Uh, Occasionally, users have challenges with InfoReady, but those have reduced since we've adopted it, and that's been particularly true for those who are outside of Tufts University. So we also partner very closely with our um, affiliated hospital, though it's a completely separate organization. But we've been able to really easily resolve any challenges that people have had with the support that InfoReady provides. And I, for one, am really grateful for a lot of the help files. And, since there's certain things that I don't do just every week, I can go back and learn how to do things. InfoReady's platform, like Mustafa kind of alluded to, allows for really detailed reporting and follow-ups. And we can help to provide those real-time results to leadership. And that's become, especially in the current funding um, environment, that's become really important in terms of making sure that we can continue to invest in the programs that we have. And next slide. And in short, when I argued that we needed to adopt InfoReady, I told my boss I haven't wanted something this much since I wanted a hamster when I was 8. Sadly, that is not a picture of Nibbles, which I don't have. But both InfoReady and my hamster Nibbles when I was 8 uh, added tremendous amounts to my quality of life. One thing I wanted to add, and unfortunately, like I said, I was thinking about this at 2 o'clock this morning. A couple of things that I want us to be able to use InfoReady for. We are going to be relaunching our grant rating for page one workshop, which is a cohort building workshop with a lot of peer review, some didactic, more pedagogical presentations, but a lot of it is peer review. And people who sign up for this need to be able to agree to certain conditions. They have to be able to identify a funding opportunity that they want to apply for, and um, they need to be able to commit to attending all 4 sessions. And one of the things that I was thinking about was we will be able to use InfoReady to collect people who want to attend this and be able to prioritize those who are identified as really needing some additional support by their chairs, by their deans, or in other ways be able to take what may well be a large cohort and narrow it down to something that's manageable. So we cap those courses at 12 people. So so we're going to be using it, I hope, for our spring um, event. And then also we're starting to do more and more, and Mustafa has been involved in this as well, more and more research related events where we're asking people to provide presentations to um, have their students or themselves present posters, and we can use InfoReady to collect that information and make sure they're aligned with what we're looking for. So, next slide. All right, now I think we're on to our Q&A. And Carlos, I think you're monitoring the Q&A session.
That's me. I'm back. Thanks for the great presentation on how Tufts is using InfoReady. Lots of great information there. And we're going to dig into some of those details as well. I've got a list of questions that have been submitted. I've a few questions as well, so we can draw out a little information that I'm sure lots of folks on the webinar will find helpful. So first, let's get started. If we could stop sharing, let's see all of our faces. Really big. Um, so the first question, someone asked, I would like to know more about how you use ROI in InfoReady.
I am going to pass that to Mustafa because he has been managing the uh, managing the ROI collection and some of our results as well.
So right now, how we calculate ROI, before going into ROI, I would say that this is the ROI we are calculating on the grants that we have awarded over the past rather than the ROI on InfoReady itself, right? So just wanted to clarify that. So for managing ROI calculations, right now we are using progress reports, which we still have to implement within InfoReady. But the idea is to get information over the years, like through an annual progress report, how we are going to identify what extramural outcomes or external funding outcomes those grants had over the years. So basically just reaching out and collecting that information on what external grants were obtained and adding them up together to find out if we funded $3 million for Springboard, how many million dollars of external funding was collected via different funding sources, federal, corporate, or foundation together. So that's the simple approach here.
And just to add to that, I wanted to say that we have found that our internal funding programs, and this is a preliminary statistic right now, but that it's over 900% return on investment for the internal investments that we have made thus far. So it's been actually really, really useful to be able to tell that story to our leadership and to be able to justify the continuation of these programs. And one other thing that we do is we don't just get an annual, our programs are for 1 year of funding. And so we don't just get the progress at the end of 1 year, because as we all know, it takes sometimes a couple of years or even more to get real robust outcomes on external funding. So we ask applicants and awardees to agree that they will continue to provide that data for 3 years post-funding.
There's absolutely a longer tail on some of those funding decisions. 900%. I'm sure leadership likes to see that.
Absolutely.
Something is working. And in addition to external funding being a metric used for your ROI, are you collecting any other information to determine or metrics such as conference papers or any sort of publications? And
Mustafa?
Yes, we are collecting all the information we can via progress reports. So we will be asking them about publications, about other events that might have resulted from that funding. And even if they are using that pilot data to get to other funding or other ideas that they think were supported through our grants, that all that information will be captured using the progress reports.
Great. Thanks for the additional details. Now, we've got more questions on reporting here. Hot topic for everyone, right? Excuse me. So, one of the people here asks, automated reporting was mentioned. How do you achieve this, and what do you use to disseminate the information? So I think the question is more around the automation of reporting. Um, if you could explain that a little bit more, is it simply just there's a system that collects progress reports?
Yeah, I would say, and I'll ask Adrian and Mustafa to kind of jump in on, what reporting features that we use most often. But I would say that periodically we are asked for data uh, that we're asked for from our leadership, like, for instance, the return on investment, like how much have we invested in Springboard since its existence? All and what are our current budgets? How many applicants are we having? Those kinds of things. And that is pretty straightforward to pull from the InfoReady platform under the reporting. We're still trying to maximize our usage of that and to be able to, automate more of that than what has been done previously. Right now, it's a little bit of, a combination of pulling information from InfoReady as well as, a little bit of manual calculation on the back end.
Yes, so just to add to that, as an example, like we had this application for Springboard and Research and Scholarship, for which we received 56 applications this time. So we will need all the data in terms of which school the PIs belong to, which kind of applications came in, whether they were new or whether they were resubmissions. Also, if we have priorities assigned to them, we get the data for whether a certain application was associated with community-based initiatives or other priorities such as substance abuse. So, all that kind of data comes up nicely and neatly from the InfoReady portal into an Excel file, which we can then use to generate charts or create charts or other things. But all that compilation of data is automated, so that kind of helps us organize better and focus on more strategic analysis rather than collecting data and then trying to figure out how to organize it.
Great. Thank you, Amy and Mustafa. Now there's a similar question specifically for Adrian on reporting on limited submissions in the transition from InfoReady data to reports prepared for and shared with higher ups, like quarterly annual reporting. So, like, how do you package that up? And
Similarly, in the sense of ours is when I report out, it's more of an annual basis, depending on okay, how many limited submissions did we announce? How many had actual LOIs? And then how many went to competition? Um, Beyond that, we don't do much more reporting on the limited submissions aspects of things. It's not, there's further steps when it gets to the next part of the administrative process that we are not involved in. So we don't do, so those are the main, kind of more quantitative number around how many of this is really kind of the area that the limited submissions quantifying would be.
thanks, Adrian. A follow-up on that. When so you select a limited submission for proposal development to advance. Do you coordinate internally with research administration, let's say, on closing the loop on anyone that was selected for a limited submission
Yes.
that was awarded?
So
What's
we use, so once they've submitted their LOI and they've been selected, there could be time and steps in between there. I will notify them through InfoReady, and that was the part I kind of touched on around the customizing. We have to talk to pre-award and local research administrator, and I've been able to through the help service. There's, I think her name was Carolyn, was or Caroline was very helpful in walking me through that because if like most universities, a lot of people get a lot of email they don't want. So we now can tailor those emails so it goes to the correct people versus like a full blast, which some of the of those administrators didn't really enjoy. And so I do it that way. So I award it and have figured out how to individually say, so and so, these are the people that you need to talk to now that you're selected to move forward with this limited submission, and then it's moved off like hand.
great? Thanks for sharing some of that limited submission information. I've got more questions regarding limited submissions, so you're not
Okay,
off
great. I'm here, ready to go.
First question. How much time do you think is saved by pushing limited submissions from Pivot to InfoReady versus a manual setup?
Oh gosh. I would say maybe probably 30 minutes less per announcement, maybe more.
Well, that adds up.
Depends on how many we're doing per week. And maybe Amy could give a better number, but that's what I would say.
We
Maybe more, 30 minutes to an hour, I would say, just with the level of detail that we want to share and kind of edit. And having the able that push through is really, I don't have to go back and forth and look up each element, the dollar amount, the website, the date, all those things. So it's all pushed through, and I just sort of check and edit more of the text areas of what we like to have presented to the faculty. So it's been really helpful to be able to tailor it. It looks a lot like what our emails did because of those templates.
Absolutely. And I would say that, it's so Adrian puts together the announcements, and then there's a review process for the announcements where, I review all of the federal ones, our corporate and foundation relations folks review the foundation ones and make sure that they are approved. And we can for sure edit whatever the text is or whatever we need to, but it means that we are spending less time copying and pasting from an RFA or from a website or trying to track down, like Adrian said, that information. And we also have fewer, I think, errors in terms of what the deadline is, what the amount is, because sometimes they're just copy paste errors that we all miss.
Great thing. Once the data is in there, it might as well use the tools in the system to keep it consistent and reduce those errors for sure. More limited submission questions, including promoting the available limited submission opportunities. You're touching on that already. And this question is around other ways you're promoting opportunities with faculty. So a specific question is there an easy way to combine the LOIs from InfoReady into a newsletter or something similar?
So it's my understanding that it's not, but that could have changed. I have not looked into that recently. We have some pretty tight limits on what we can be emailing to the faculty. So we really try to make it intentional and kind of look at this really like only this. So if we, from what I understood, is that you could only do it individually. So here's one announcement and send them individually. So that may have changed, but since then I do a kind of a not newsletter, but like weekly list that goes to the people that will be some of the administrators that would be distributing this to the faculty. We have, like I said, and this might be unique to Tufts, I don't know, but we have really tight rules around how we can be communicating with faculty in a kind of blast way. So I would love if there was something that was like more of a newsletter. Maybe Carlos, you know that if that's changed, but as of what I understand, no.
I have information to add. I do.
Great.
Um, so a few items here. I know that some institutions have microsites specifically for limited submissions, and so then they're able to share a link to the microsite,
Yeah,
and
that's what we do.
people are able to see all of those. So that's helpful because it keeps them all contained in one place. So I'm sure you found people appreciate that. Um, I do know we have a few institutions that use InfoReady that have outbound data feeds, and they use those in a couple different ways that I've seen. One is an outbound data feed of the metadata for all of their opportunities, and they will auto-populate pages on their website that have additional search and filtering capability, and they'll have a wide variety of opportunities and guidance on that page as well. So they do that to improve discoverability in various ways. We work with a couple institutions that take one of these outbound data feeds of opportunities, and they have MailChimp as well. They've created MailChimp templates, and it automatically they've mapped the InfoReady data from the data feed into the MailChimp template, and it automatically sends all new opportunities once a week. And then they get the analytics on page views, button clicks, opens, etc.
Unfortunately, that's not available to us, although it would be really cool if we had that. One of the things that we have found is that, uh, you know, uh, faculty are not interested in having to monitor the website without knowing if there's something new coming up that would be relevant to them. So there are a couple of things, and Adrienne, I have to talk to you later, and this is
Oh,
something we're
gosh.
going to be talking about next week in our internal strategy meeting about how we are going to start publicizing more of these opportunities. uh, People on the receiving end are still going to have to do a little bit of work to find what those opportunities are. But hopefully we'll be able to create some other systems that can help us to publicize them. But it's always a challenge, right? Even in the before times when we did send out a blast email to everybody who had signed up for an e-list with all of the limited submission opportunities, uh, we would have, and this is part of why I think we were, no longer able to do that. Um, we would get complaints. Well, none of these apply to me. Why did I get this email? And so, and we have what, 800 faculty. We cannot customize a list for every single one of the 800 faculty that we have at Tufts.
That's a big job if there was like an institutional mandate for you to do that, I'm sure it would be overwhelming.
If there was an institutional mandate, they would have to let me hire like 10 more people.
Not looking forward to anything like that. Um, more questions. Actually, one more thing related to promoting funding opportunities and making them more discoverable. Uh, the new InfoReady homepage has improved filtering capabilities. And so the standard filters there allow you to use the search and filter option, and then the search results include the URL, a durable URL that can be shared. So that's helpful. And we also have a custom filter option that will be rolling out at some point for that will be available to add. And you'll be able to have a whole bunch of different options there to improve how investigators can find opportunities, how you can share opportunities, etc. Definitely make people more self-sufficient. Um, find those opportunities that fall through the cracks. Okay, here's one about corporate and foundation relation teams. This person says our institution's team posts non-limited foundation and corporate opportunities on InfoReady, which accounts for the majority of InfoReady postings. How do you measure success of non-limited opportunities, extramural non-limited opportunities?
Well, I can answer that part. So we can, in one of the drop downs on our template, we have it separated out between federal and foundation. You could probably add any of the other ones, any other words really that you wanted. And when we get reporting, we can filter through that. So you'll say how many were, the ROI, the quantity, how many federal were announced this year, or how many foundation ones were announced this year. Similarly, we have a lot more of the corporate foundations, again, similarly this year. But that's how we can differentiate which kind of announcement it is. We also do it by fiscal year. We have those numbers in there as well. All those drop downs are customizable. I can add those in anytime. So that's what I've done to differentiate those two things.
We have not, as of yet, announced any that are non-limited because we have enough on our plate, and our corporate and foundation relations team has more people, for one thing, and also has a really robust way of disseminating opportunities that are non-limited. And so we haven't used InfoReady for that, but I would imagine similar to the internal funding programs, you could have a progress report and be able to, find out if people were awarded once they, submitted for their non-limited corporate and foundation relation type opportunity.
Thanks, Amy, Adrian. Really covering lots of ground here on promoting opportunities and tracking the data. Now we're switching gears a little bit, but it's still tracking data. The question is, what method do you use for awarded fund information being transferred to accounting software? For example, researcher X wins Z dollars from competition Y, and then accounting tracks the amount spent and if funds were compliant. Do you have an InfoReady integration, or do you do something else?
Mustafa, I think that one's yours.
Yeah, we are not using InfoReady for that part yet. What we do is we collect the information for awards and we reach out to the budget center and get the account set up, debt ID. And then we just come back to the InfoReady application award and update the debt ID information over there. But the process is not integrated just because that's done, completely by the accounting and budget side, and they are not integrated into the InfoReady setup system.
Well, looking forward to hear how those future plans develop.
Hopefully they will.
We all have plans upon plans.
It also depends on how, like, does InfoReady have that kind of like system in place? I would like to know more about that too.
Right. Now we do have several institutions that use inbound and outbound data feeds to other systems of record, and they use it for a variety of purposes. One of those is sending funding information into an accounting system so that uh, award tracking is made much easier. We only have a few minutes left. I do want to ask a couple questions around relationships with other units interested in using InfoReady. You had a whole slide on this. Um, so, how do you provide internal training for the units that you classify as being self-sufficient? Because you had the three-tier organization there.
Right now, we are the only ones who are self-sufficient. And part of it is because we have a limited number of administrator slots. And so we try to, use those for those of us who are most involved in managing the day-to-day. And so thus far, we are the only ones who are self-sufficient. One thing I can see in the future is one of our other units within the Office of the Vice Provost for Research is our tech transfer unit runs an annual competition as well, an internal competition. And thus far, they have done it manually and have not taken up our suggestion that they perhaps migrate to InfoReady. Uh, Although I think they would really like it. And if that were the case, then we would, assign an administrator slot to one of them, and we would provide some training. And Mustafa, you have been working with some of our interns on the use of InfoReady. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you've, done the training with that?
Yes, so as I mentioned recently, we have been setting up the neuroengineering pilot grant program. So what I did was that the whole setup and template adaptation, I did that while training the interns and showing them how to do it. So I did it with them work. So that is one approach we can take to, make other units self-sufficient. If there is a way for like the Tufts Launchpad or someone else wants to take up, we could use the same approach to, guide them through and train them, set up the first round maybe and let them take it on from there. But so far we haven't done more than that.
And I would say too that one of the things that we do with our internal seed funding programs is we review all of the reviewer comments to make sure they're not unprofessional, and to make sure that nobody is saying things like, and this is a real situation, nobody is saying things like, your field should not exist and should not get funding. And we had something like that, and we had to, make sure that that the applicant was not seeing this kind of unprofessional comment. And so we reviewed those, and I was able to, within 15 minutes, walk the interns through what we do, how we do it, and the use of the system. And they have been quite quickly getting through a lot of this work.
That's great to hear. I'm sure that's been helpful to have quick uptake and then the extra hands.
Absolutely.
Well, we are at the end of the webinar. I want to give a big thank you to our three panelists from Tufts University. So informative and helpful. I'm sure lots of people have lots of takeaways from your presentation. Uh, on screen here, we've got a few upcoming webinars, training refresher next month, and then we also have another peer spotlight webinar that we're doing in conjunction with Nordup on March 19th. I don't know if Amy, as the VP of Nordup, knew about that one, but it's happening. And so if you're interested in registering for that, please visit the events calendar on the InfoReady website. And then if you have any other questions about InfoReady, my colleague Max Dinerman. His contact information is there if you would like to adopt InfoReady. If you have other questions, if you're an existing user and want to ask any questions, feel free to send me an email or you can contact support anytime. Great support team, very responsive, very helpful.
I can absolutely attest to that. They are amazing.
Thanks, Amy. And they're the best. And with that, thank you everyone for attending the webinar today. Really appreciate you spending your time with us. As mentioned earlier, the webinar is being recorded, so get an email with that recording, share it with your colleagues if you want. Revisit it in your spare time, which you probably don't have much of. And with that, thank you everyone. Have a great day. Happy holidays.